Okay, we'll call this meeting back to order, and we are on item 7.
Item number 7 is a proclamation recognizing Constitution Day and Citizenship Day 2025. Corey Applegate, Commissioner, Board of County Commissioners.
Madam Chair, thank you. I just want to say before I read this proclamation, I was in Philadelphia recently for the NACO conference, and we took a tour of the Independence Hall, and it's mentioned here in the proclamation, and got to kind of walk the same ground that the founding fathers had and everything. And you're sitting there, you're seeing this historic building, you kind of led on this tour, and they're showing you all this different stuff. And it was just amazing, the whole concept of the building. And then for 10 years, from 1789 to 1799, the Independence Hall was served as the Philadelphia State House. After that, they moved it. And Independence Hall sat empty for about 20 years. And at one point, even the founding fathers were saying, let's just tear the building down and use it for something different. And it was the wives of some of the founding fathers and the other people that were in government in Philadelphia that said, no, let's make this a national monument because this building has significance to the country and will continue to have significance in the future. So it's actually kind of neat, little shout out to the little piece of history that you learn when you took that tour. This is our proclamation recognizing Constitution Day and Citizenship Day, year of 2025. Whereas in the summer of 1787, delegates throughout the United States gathered in Independence Hall in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, intent on building a government that would start the test of time and protect the hard-won freedoms secured during the Revolutionary War. And whereas 238 years later, the document that produced our Constitution remains the bedrock of our government, one rooted in equality under the law and an unyielding commitment to our individual liberty. And whereas the framers of our Constitution divided political power among 3 separate but co-equal branches, and further between the federal and the state governments, ensuring that the governments of the people, by the people, and for the people would remain accountable to its citizens, for whom all legitimate political power is derived. And whereas for 238 years, America's Constitution has guided our growth, shaped our progress, and defined us as a nation of sacred laws and fundamental values. And whereas on this day we celebrate the singing of the Constitution and the American citizens who have devoted their lives to implementing the framers' vision for the world's grandest experiment in self-governance. And whereas the law that established Constitution Day was modified in 2004 with the passage of an amendment to include recognition of the individuals who become U.S. citizens. Now, therefore, the Board of County Commissioners, Paso County, Colorado, hereby recognizes on September 9th, or September 17th as Constitution Day and the Citizens Day of El Paso County, and encourages our citizens and residents to show their appreciation of the Constitution of the United States by studying its words, educating the younger generation about its enduring importance, and recognizing the unparalleled success of the system of government it helped to create. And this is done on the 9th of September in Colorado Springs, Colorado. Board of County Commissioners, El Paso County, Colorado. Chair Carrie Geithner, Vice Chair Holly Williams, Corey Applegate, member, Lauren Nelson, member, Bill Weissong, member, and then is attested to by Steve Slackler, our county clerk and recorder.
Second.
Okay, that's been moved and seconded, and we do have guests here who would like to share with us. And so if you would come on, we have Headmaster Siegel from Liberty Tree Academy and some students to share with us the preamble and a few thoughts.
So before, I'd just like to thank you for this occasion. It's a privilege and honor to be here. Our students recite the preamble every day. And these are our seniors who are the next generation to serve our country in the various ways that they do. So here they are.
Of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty. To ourselves and our posterity, do ordain and establish this Constitution for the United States of America.
The preamble, what it means to me is it gives us the ability as the next generation to do things like go to college and practice the religion of our choosing without having to fear of those privileges being taken away.
Thank you so much for being here, for sharing that. I think it's phenomenal to hear that they recite it every day. That's pretty unique. I've never heard of another school doing that, so thank you. Is there anyone else who'd like to speak on this item that's here? I don't think we have anyone else here today on this item. So I'll bring it up here for comments from commissioners. So we'll start with Vice Chair Williams.
Yeah, I had to look at the preamble. It's pretty awesome. So we do usually have our pocket guide to the Constitution up here on the dais so that we can always pull it out. This is such an important document. I think next year is our 250th celebration of the Declaration of Independence. And I know several neighborhoods who get together every year on July 4th in the morning and read through the Declaration of Independence. And amazingly enough, as a county commissioner, sometimes we get criticized for the decisions we make. Wow, you would never believe that that would happen. But I have to say on this, many of our decisions, when we go back and we look at the Constitution, they are really based in law. They're based on things that our founding fathers experienced. It is such an honor to be able to go. We go to Washington, D.C. about every year. Commissioner Applegate mentioned he was in Pennsylvania. I was in New York a couple of years ago. I was able to go back during college to study and work in Congress for 8 months, and we traveled all up and down the East Coast visiting all of the historic sites. And it's amazing to understand what these individuals went through. My husband's genealogy shows that now we have the last name Williams, which is about as common as Adams and Brown. And the reason why the last name is Williams is our ancestors way back in 1776. One of them was a British soldier who decided he wanted to be an American citizen and fight against his own country, England. And so he changed his name to William Williams. And so we can go to our genealogy all the way back to the 1776. And there we have William Williams, and it stops because we don't know what his name was after that, before that. So this was a really tough time. If you imagine the British soldiers moving into your property, taking it over. We had started, we're reading, in one of my clubs, we're reading books. So last month we read about the Ride of Paul Revere. I buy 2 books. I buy the children's version and the heavy version, knowing that I'll probably get about maybe all the way through the kids' version and maybe a third of the way through the adult version. And but it's amazing as you think of what these individuals had to go through, why they would take up arms against England. And it was because they believed the property was theirs. They believed that their values were given to them from God. Whereas if you read through a history of England, the kings and queens of England acted. They owned the property and they granted the property to individuals. Here, the government doesn't own the property. The individuals own the property, and government is not supposed to step in and take that property from you. So what they had was just a divine gift to see what this country needed, something that would last for as long as we have. So thank you so much for being here. I'm certainly thankful for our Constitution today.
Commissioner Weisong.
I just wanted to thank you for coming and reciting the preamble. It's never easy in front of a group like this, but very encouraging. So thank you for coming.
Commissioner Nelson.
It's an honor to serve up at this dais knowing that I swore an oath to protect the Constitution. And I take that very seriously. And I am grateful for the brave men and women that established the principles that our country was founded upon, and the Declaration of Independence casting the vision for our country, and then the Constitution enacting that vision and being sort of the how and the detailed guidance of we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all are created equal, and I'm paraphrasing here, but that we all as citizens of our country maintain rights, and it's just an honor to be able to represent our local community. And I love that it is by the people, for the people, and that we, the people, are the ones serving and helping to make decisions that we believe are best locally. And so I also want to thank you all for being here this morning, and that was wonderful.
And I just wholeheartedly agree. It's so great to see all of your faces here today. I appreciate, in particular, Commissioner Nelson's comment. It is an honor to swear an oath to uphold our Constitution. I was appalled recently to hear a senator of our U.S. government make statements that it sounded very extreme when comments were made that our rights come from our Creator, and kind of admonished folks who might believe that. And it was disturbing to me that we have folks who are serving in our government today who do not understand that that's how we were founded. And so it's a great reminder of how important it is for us to read our founding documents. It's a great reminder of how we should know what is in our Constitution. So I am so grateful that we have students who are learning that and reciting that every day, and taking that to heart, because we have, I think, a lot of folks who do not understand the origins of our nation, do not understand the origins of our Constitution and why it is so important. I often think that it is interesting, especially about some of the debates around including the Bill of Rights, and the debates that happened around that, because our rights are supposed to be our rights, and yet some believe that the government would eventually try to encroach on those unless we kind of enumerated those and didn't say these are all of our rights, but we're going to protect these ones specifically. Whenever people say the Constitution gave us our rights, that's always of grave concern to me. It's a nuance, but again, our rights come from our Creator. Some of them are enumerated, but that was specifically to keep a government from growing. It is true that in the pursuit even of good things, most humans will try to control everything. They will make excuses for why they should have more power. They will try to regulate, again, sometimes out of trying to make things better. But we recognize over and over again how important our Constitution is in setting up a limited government so that we can all continue to live in freedom. The government's first responsibility is to protect the rights of its citizens, not anything else, not to solve their problems. As I think Benjamin Franklin once said, that you have the right to pursue happiness, but you have to catch it yourself. And I'm sure that our headmaster will correct me if I've got that quote a bit wrong there. But again, that we're here to protect your individual rights, but that doesn't mean that we'll do everything for you as a government. It can sometimes be hard as a government official when you want to help people to remember how important it is to limit yourself, even when your intention is good. And that is something that we strive to do here all the time, I think, and to always remember that good intentions do not excuse our lack of adherence to the important Constitution and rules that our founders saw for us, because they were incredibly incredibly wise, divinely inspired, I believe, and we are very fortunate. So I'm grateful that you are continuing to learn about the Constitution and hoping that you're sharing that with those around you. There are a lot of people your age who do not understand the importance of that. When we hear about the rise in young people, continually saying or thinking that socialism is the way that our government should go, and it's, I think, wholly incompatible with our Constitution and our founding. It's a breath of fresh air to see you all here, and we really appreciate that and encourage you to share that. Share everything that you learn because it is incredibly important. And with that, I will turn it over to Commissioner Applegate for his final comments.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I want to thank the young people for coming down this morning, citing the preamble. And yeah, my only comment is, I've mentioned this before, is when our founding fathers, they went and formed this nation, they broke off from a world superpower at the time, the greatest nation the world had ever seen, basically the leader of the world in Europe. And when we broke away from them and smoke cleared and everything was done and it was time to set up our government, we started then at the time the greatest social experiment the world had ever seen. Leadership from the people, not from a monarch, not from a single entity, but with separating our government powers and even having states' rights to where we could elect our people based on who we saw fit to lead. And that's all I have on that.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and call the roll. Commissioner Wysong.
Aye.
Commissioner Nelson.
Aye.
Commissioner Applegate.
Aye.
Vice Chair Williams.
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. That passes 5-0. We'll take a brief recess to get a photograph. Call this meeting back to order, and we are on item 8.
Item number 8 is comments by elected officials and commissioner liaison reports. 8A, Board of Equalization Annual Report, Mark Flucher, Assessor.
Good morning, commissioners. I think I might have just met a future board for the county. This report is an annual report required by statute where I report appeal information to all of you as the County Board of Equalization. Up on the screen are the total values for taxable real property in the county and the assessed values. This is similar information to what's provided to finance on our preliminary certification. The notes I wanted to bring to your attention are there were 7,906 appeals filed for 2025, far lower than the 33,000 we saw 2 years ago. 46% of those were adjusted. Our average going back to 2011 is about 55%. The highest year for adjustments was in 2011, 71%. And that was due to the 08 recession still affecting property values in our county. The median adjustment amount was about $67,000. This year, it was heavily influenced by commercial and industrial properties. With our new system, we found discrepancies in some of our data that was corrected and higher accuracy in our valuations. So therefore, that along with more income information coming in from business owners, we were able to adjust to a greater degree for those folks. 41% of all appeals filed were from tax agents, not individual property owners. And 48% of that 41% was from one company, an out-of-state company. So I say that so you can take with a grain of salt that these aren't all disgruntled homeowners. These are businesses that it's their profession to try to make money off tax appeals. Last but not least, the statute requires, well, I'll mention, personal property is not listed on here because, as you all know, it's exempted for county collection to support our local businesses. However, 841 taxable businesses failed to return a personal property declaration. That's something I have to report to you. That list is available to all of you along with the rest of the data used to compile these numbers in electronic format. I just didn't want to submit 500 pages of Excel workbooks to you. As far as the 841 businesses that failed to report, there is a provision in statute to apply a penalty. However, our office is not going to do that. What we're going to do is audit those businesses, make sure they still exist, and move on from there. That is all I have for you. Are there any questions?
I don't see any, so I think you're good to go here.
All right,
Thank you so much for being here and for your presentation today. Thank you. Okay, with that, we will ask if there are any other countywide elected officials. I don't see any in the room and none online, so we will bring it up here for commissioners, beginning with Commissioner Weisong.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This week, we'll be having a meeting PPACG along with the Parks Board. Last week was up in Green Mountain Falls discussing with the mayor and the town manager different things that were impacting Green Mountain Falls. And then also the Pikes Peak Workforce Development Board and the Executive Board had a meeting, combined meeting, which they only do once a year. And it was just good to get good understanding of what was going on, not only in El Paso County, but Teller County, which is part of the Pikes Peak Workforce area. So very interesting and informative. So that's all.
Commissioner Nelson?
Tonight, I will be attending the CSU Extension Advisory Committee meeting. We thought it was last week, so I showed up, but it ended up not taking place last week due to the holiday, and so now it's tonight. So I'll be there for a little bit to learn more about that organization and how our county can partner with just increasing 4-H experience and agricultural and into our community. And then tomorrow, I will be serving on the El Paso County Housing Authority Board meeting, and the Pikes Peak Rural Transportation Authority meeting is also tomorrow. So a little bit of a busy week this week within our land use meeting on Thursday. So I look forward to continuing to learn. I'm enjoying the work.
Commissioner
Yes.
Applegate.
Yeah. To echo what Commissioner Weissong said, yes, we were up at the Cripple Creek at the Chamonix Hotel. The Pikes Peak Workforce Board was meeting up there. They were talking about kind of what was going on with the workforce in a sense of like in Teller County mostly. And we had kind of like a Q&A session with the rest of the board. I think the other groups that were part of it showed up. On Saturday, I got to attend a documentary about the Adaman organization, how they add a man every time they go up the mountain on New Year's Eve and shoot off the fireworks from the hill. And it was actually rather interesting. I didn't realize how much history was behind it. They talked a lot about the Frozen Five, the first five that climbed up the hill. And it was kind of neat how the interactions with the different cities and even the Air Force at one point to that. And big shout out to Mayor John Graham. I didn't realize he was a member of the Adaman, and they actually interviewed him a couple times during the documentary. It was pretty cool. So, but yeah, very neat organization. It was cool learning about the history of it, and it's very, very unique to Colorado Springs and the Pikes Peak area. So,
Vice Chair Williams.
Yes, I remember those first couple of expeditions for up to the top of Pikes Peak were rather dangerous, as I understand. But no, this week I really have nothing to report except for the meetings we have this week. So Pikes Peak Area Council of Governments and the Pikes Peak Rural Transportation Authority Board of Directors tomorrow, our land use on Thursday. There is a Military Affairs Council honor and lunch event on Thursday evening. And then on Friday, my favorite math meeting, which is, that's math, M-A-T-H, which is the Child Welfare Allocation Committee, where we talk about formulas and money coming in and money going out. And it's a very, very tough thing. There were actually 3 counties this year that had to make up the difference for the welfare allocation, but thank heavens El Paso County wasn't one of them. So we were very happy. But Adams, Denver, and Boulder counties all had to put in a little bit of money to help make up their welfare allocation amounts that the state could not cover. So it will be a very interesting meeting on Friday. Thank you.
I will be participating in the Pikes Peak Housing Network tour tomorrow. So I look forward to seeing some of those projects and things that are going on in our community. I also have several constituent meetings this week. And of course, our land use meeting, as was mentioned, on Thursday. So looking forward to those items. And with that, I believe we are on to item 9.
Item number 9 is community service organization reports, and there are none.
Item 10.
Item number 10 is public comment on items not scheduled on the agenda. And Madam Chair, there's one person signed in to speak and one that would like to be called in today.
Okay, if you are here to speak on item 10, an item not on the agenda, please come forward at this time.
Commissioners, first of all, I apologize for speaking out of term. At this organization here, I never knew that you even had such a thing here. But anyway, my name is Robert L. Wilburn Sr. I am a resident, or have been a resident from Colorado Springs since 1972. I'm a Vietnam vet, served 2 tours, 1 Silver Star, 2 Purple Hearts, 2 Bronze Stars, and 37 decorations. I reside at 5320 Alturas Drive in Colorado Springs on the south side of Colorado, in Clearview Estates subsection. I've been there since 1972. My neighbor at 5330 Altus Drive, next door to me, share my fences. Why I'm here to make a formal complaint. I didn't know that there was such a thing that I've been talking to the agents that come out and do the inspections and all of that. But for at least 10 years, I've been making complaints about the same residents for approximately 10 years, sometimes different residents. Most of the time they have changed since I was there. That house has occupied at least 5 different owners or renters, and none of them have lived up to the code situation that I see, that where I know that I have been talking to them. The front yard was where they come out. They said they couldn't do anything about the backyard. And that's where, ladies and gentlemen, I have my biggest problem. When our houses were built out there in 86, a lot of the residents or owners planted cottonwood trees. And that cottonwood tree that's in the back of my neighbor's yard has been growing, and it's been causing all sorts of havoc to my property. I've had to pay at least $250 because it got into my sprinkler system and ruined it. So I paid that. The tree grew so large that it went over and over top of my house, where the squirrels would jump on and off of that, and I had it cut back regulation-wise. But now, about 5 years ago, they cut that tree down, and that from that, the residue of now, have, I would say, about 30 cottonwood trees that are now growing in that backyard. I have, I think I've passed the situation out where you could see. I took some photos, I gave it to.
We will make sure that everyone gets those and they're recorded for the record for our clerk. I do want to let you know that your time is expired. So if you have any comments to wrap up, and then what we probably need to do is get you with a staff member and just make sure that we have all of your information so that we can follow up with you.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Okay, we are on to, let me just ask, is there anyone else who in the room who would like to speak on an item not on the agenda? In the room first, then we'll go online. Thank you.
I have heard some good news late last night. The Pikes Peak Library Joint Appointment Committee might finally meet this Friday. Here's where we stand. Dora Gonzalez's term ended over 8 months ago, and her seat is still vacant. Debbie English's term ends in just 4 months, and the process to replace her should have begun in August. It's been over 3 months since the Joint Appointment Committee last met. Many applications are now over a year old. Your constituents are watching closely. We are deeply concerned with the bottleneck caused by this committee's failure to meet. Even worse, at the last meeting, we saw no agreed upon process and no shared agreement of qualifications needed for the trustees. 2 of the 3 applicants discussed hadn't even been interviewed by all committee members. That is unacceptable for any committee anywhere. The Pikes Peak Library District should stand above politics. Trustees must represent the library patrons and insist on freedom of information and equal access across the district. They must have strong financial expertise to oversee a $40 million plus budget, especially after the closure of Rockrimmon Library. They also need board experience, leadership experience, and a strong history of library experience. They should understand that libraries are more than what can be accessed on a phone. Public libraries are the great equalizer, ensuring access to information for all, not just for those who can pay. We call on you to establish a transparent, mutually accepted process with a clear rubric. Ensure every applicant in the interview pool is interviewed by every member. Kindly step aside if you cannot devote the time this responsibility requires. Our libraries are too important to be mishandled. They are the cornerstone of democracy, where every voice can access knowledge freely. Do not trifle with this. Please find us qualified nominees. We know without doubt that they exist within the applicants. Aim for a balanced board rather than the present lopsided one. Please restore the Pikes Peak Library District by putting it into qualified, caring, and trusted hands. Thank you.
Okay, do we have anyone else online? Okay, with that, we will move to item 11.
Item 11 is the called up consent calendar, and there are no items called up.
Item 12.
Item 12 is department and committee reports, non-action items, and there are none.
Item 13.
Item 13 is the addendum, and there are no addendums today.
Item 14.
Item 14 is the executive session, and there is no request for executive session.
Okay, with that, we've come to the end of this agenda. This meeting is adjourned.